We like to believe in fairy tales. We need to. In a world that is often chaotic, fractured, and unpredictable, we look at the screens, at the red carpets, at the carefully curated lives of the elite, and we project our highest hopes onto them. We tell ourselves, if they can make love look that beautiful, maybe it exists for the rest of us too. For over a decade, that fairy tale had a name: Brangelina. They were not just Hollywood royalty. They were a cultural phenomenon. Two of the most beautiful, powerful, and magnetic human beings on the planet, coming together to build something that felt larger than life. A global family, humanitarian missions, red carpets where the world stopped spinning just to watch them walk by hand in hand. They seemed invincible. They looked like gods walking among mortals, untouched by the petty miseries of ordinary life. But perfection is a heavy mask to wear. And the heavier the mask, the more violent the fracture when it finally slips. To understand how it all ended, we have to look past the flashing cameras. We have to look past the glamorous photo shoots in the French countryside and the smiles designed for the paparazzi. We have to step inside a space that was private, claustrophobic, and entirely isolated from the world. A space where there were no directors to yell "cut," no publicists to manage the damage, and no escape. It happened in the sky, 30,000 feet above the earth, inside a luxury private jet, a place where luxury met a terrifying, inescapable confinement. September 14th, 2016. A date that began like any other for the Jolie Pitt family. They boarded a private flight from Nice, France, heading home to Los Angeles. 2 parents, 6 children. A routine journey back to reality after a long trip. But the reality they were returning to was already hollowed out from the inside. The air inside that cabin wasn't filled with the excitement of going home. It was thick, heavy with a tension that had been building for months, perhaps years. Alcohol, resentment, and the exhaustion of a marriage under a microscope had created a volatile cocktail. The cabin of a private jet is beautiful, yes, but it is also a metal tube hurtling through the sky. There are no doors to walk out of when an argument starts. There is no fresh air to clear your head. There is only the hum of the engine, the narrow aisle, and the person you are fighting with. According to the heavily redacted FBI documents that would surface years later, the storm didn't hit all at once. It brewed. It started with words, sharp, biting words born from deep-seated frustrations. Brad Pitt had been drinking. Angelina Jolie was defensive. The children watched, trapped in their seats, listening to the 2 heroes of their lives unraveling in front of them. Imagine the isolation of that moment. The rest of the world thinks you are flying in absolute paradise, but inside that cabin it felt like an emotional freefall. The documents paint a harrowing picture. An argument that began between 2 people quickly spilled over into the rest of the plane. It moved from the main cabin into the privacy of the restroom, where the walls felt even closer. The allegations detailed in those reports are painful to read. Words of venom, physical confrontations, a mother trying to protect her children, a father consumed by a rage he couldn't seem to contain. At one point, it is alleged that a child tried to intervene to step between the titans. And in that moment, the boundary between a private marital dispute and a family tragedy vanished. What goes through a child's mind when the foundation of their entire world begins to shake? For years, these children had been raised in the spotlight, but within the fortress of their family, they were supposed to be safe. Now, high above the clouds, the fortress was crumbling. The FBI reports describe moments of chaos: poured wine, shattered glass, tears, and a terrifying sense of helplessness. It is easy for the public to look at celebrities and see them as characters in a drama. We judge them. We take sides. We tweet, we comment, we analyze their body language. But in that metal tube, they were just human beings. A fractured family, hurting each other in the dark with nowhere to run. The physical altercation, as described in the legal filings, was shocking. But the emotional violence was what truly broke them. When someone you love becomes unrecognizable to you, the pain isn't just physical. It's an existential grief. It's the realization that the person who was supposed to keep you safe is now the person you need protection from. As the plane flew closer to its destination, the silence that followed the storm must have been deafening. The engine roared outside, but inside the silence was absolute. The kind of silence that exists after a bomb goes off. The smoke is clearing, the debris is scattered everywhere, and you look around realizing that nothing will ever be the same again. They were still in the air. The plane was still moving forward. But their lives had stopped completely. When the wheels of that private jet finally touched the tarmac at Los Angeles International Airport, it wasn't just a landing. It was a crash. The doors opened and the warm California air rushed in. But it couldn't wash away the cold reality of what had transpired over the Atlantic. The family did not leave together. They didn't get into the same SUV. They didn't go home to the same house. The separation began the very second their feet touched the ground. Within 24 hours, the world would shake. On September 15, 2016, Angelina Jolie filed for divorce. The reason listed on the legal documents was standard, sterile, and cold, irreconcilable differences. But the world knew. The rumors spread like wildfire. The FBI opened an investigation because the alleged incident occurred on an aircraft falling under maritime and territorial jurisdiction. The ultimate golden couple was not just breaking up. They were being investigated by the federal government. The media circus that followed was unprecedented. The public was hungry for details, desperate to know every sordid detail of the downfall. But away from the cameras, a tragic reality was unfolding. A family of 8 was shattering into pieces. Brad Pitt would later speak openly about his struggles with alcohol, about the pain of the divorce, and the realization that his own actions had contributed to the ruin of his greatest achievement, his family. Angelina Jolie would retreat into the privacy of her children, fiercely protective, carrying the weight of a trauma that happened in a place where no one could see. A decade has passed since that fateful flight. The legal battles still drag on. Arguments over vineyards, custody, and non-disclosure agreements. The ink on the divorce papers is long dry, but the wounds are clearly still open. Brangelina is gone. It has been replaced by 2 individuals aging under the harsh light of public scrutiny, forever linked by their children and by the ghost of what they used to be. What is the lesson of the 2016 private jet incident? Perhaps it is a reminder that no amount of wealth, beauty, or fame can insulate a human soul from pain. Wealth can buy you a private jet, but it cannot buy you peace. Fame can make the whole world love you, but it cannot teach you how to love the people closest to you without hurting them. When we look back at that flight, we shouldn't look at it with gossip or malice. We should look at it with a sense of tragedy. It was the moment the music stopped. The moment the curtain was pulled back to reveal that even the gods of Hollywood bleed, cry, and break just like the rest of us. They climbed into that plane as the most envied family in the world. They stepped off of it as a warning structural ruin. In the end, the fairy tale didn't end because the love died. It ended because at 30,000 feet, the reality of being human finally caught up with them. And reality, unlike Hollywood, doesn't offer a happy ending. It only offers the truth. And sometimes the truth is the hardest thing to survive.